Hi, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me in this session. I know it's late afternoon and I know there's a lot of awesome sessions going on at the same time, so I'm really happy you chose mine. So a lot of companies are focusing on personal assistants right now. Amazon has Alexa, Microsoft has Cortana, Google has Google Assistant, Samsung has Bixby, Apple has Siri, and Xiaomi also have their own assistant. I don't know the name of it, but they're working on one. We're not going to talk about all of these. We're going to talk about the top 3 of them. Now, personal assistant, that's new, right? This is top-notch. We've never heard of it before. Remember this guy? I mean, come on. This guy had tried to help you for years, and you hated him. That's poor thing. So I've been talking to my house for about 18 years now. I'll talk to my house with my own solutions. I'll talk to my house with solutions I've bought, back and forth. But it doesn't always work great. Something has changed. Now, IBM and Microsoft have been battling it out, trying to figure out which company has the best voice recognition. Right now, at least the last number I saw, is that Microsoft has the record with 5.1% error rate. The average human has 6%. That means that the machines understands us better than we do. That's kind of crazy. I mean, back in my days, back in 18 years ago, I would be happy for 50%. But my name is Engström. I work as a .NET developer. I work at a bank in Stockholm, and together with my lovely wife, I run a company called Awesome Dev, where we focus on future technologies. So the focus in bots, we focus on HoloLens and stuff like that. We run a podcast called Coding After Work, where we try to meet interesting people and try to talk about them. So if you were looking for a great podcast, or at least a podcast, so check that out. So we have a lot of content to go through, so please hold your questions until after the presentation. The goal of this session is to create a bot, a skill, or an action, whatever you would like to call it, for Cortana, for Alexa, and for Google Assistant. I'm going to try to do this in under 46 minutes. So why have I chosen these personal assistants, the top 3 right there? So Amazon has sold tens of millions of Alexa Echo devices just during last holiday. That's a crazy amount. So I haven't found any official numbers on the total sale, but just during the holiday, tens of millions. Google has sold more than 6 million Google Home devices. Google Assistant is available on...
Your Echo Dot received an important update and must restart.
Right. Living on the edge. So Google Assistant is available on over 400 million devices. So that we're talking about phone, we're talking about Google Home devices and stuff like that. Cortana has over 145 million monthly active users. So this is on phones, this is on Xbox, this is on Android and everything. So it's not entirely okay to compare these numbers, but Cortana, there's a lot of Cortana users. How many of you would use Cortana? How many have Windows 10? Aha! So you could use Cortana. How many use Alexa? Okay, Google Home, Google Assistant, Siri, big speed. Well, everybody. So the really cool thing is that Amazon and Microsoft have started a collaboration. So I will be able to talk to Cortana through Alexa, and Alexa through Cortana. Now, Alexa talk to Cortana and then say a command. That's not going to work. But it's really cool that they are collaborating. These big, huge companies are collaborating, doing things together. I'm going to know who this guy is. Anyone? 1, 2, 3. So this is Alan Turing. He's perhaps most known to crack the German Enigma cipher. Cipher? What is it? Cipher. Always get that wrong. During World War II. But he also did something called the Turing test. So it's all about building a bot that can actually fool you to think that this is a human. And then you would pass the Turing test. Microsoft did a very cool experiment. They did Tide.ai. You might have heard of this one. A bunch of you. So what they did is that they put a bot on Twitter, and the bot learned from Twitter. So it learned what people thought, how people acted and stuff like that. So in less than 24 hours, they had to pull the bot because it had become racist, it had become using really bad words, and I was kind of hoping that another big, let's say, government would do the same. Now, we're going to create a skill or an action. Alexa and Microsoft, Amazon and Microsoft are calling this a skill. Google is calling this an action. Basically, what it is bot. So you're gonna ask it a question, it's gonna reply back. Pretty simple. I would probably mix just skill and action and bot back and forth, so it's the same thing. The goal is to create a travel skill for Stockholm. I wanted to be able to answer 2 questions. I wanted to be able to answer, when does the next bus leave? And when does the next 818 bus leave? Or subway, and all the kind of variations of those. We're going to use machine learning. Now, we don't have to do anything, actually, because Microsoft and Google and Amazon has done all the hard work for us. But we're going to use machine learning to interpret what I say, to interpret it as an intent, and we'll come back to that. So, an intent is kind of what the user want to do. And our skill is going to have 3 of them. It's going to have next transport. So when does the next bus leave? It's going to have line. So when does the next bus line leave? And then we're going to have, I don't know what you're talking about. We need to handle that as well. So what we also can use, we can use slot times. So instead of me, I'm going to come back to that as well, but instead of me having to define bus, tram, subway, and all of these, I can use entity types or entities. So we're going to have 2 entities. We're going to have line number, and we're going to have the transport type. The beautiful thing is that all these systems uses something common. They use it using SSML. So it's speech synthesis markup language. I actually have to cheat to get that right. So it's a markup language on how things should be pronounced. So I will be able to say, that's a big car. Or, take a deep breath. And And I can also replace everything with an audio file or parts of it. So let's start with Alexa. Now, I don't trust Wi-Fi at conferences, so this is going to be a lot of slides. And as you understand, why I don't trust it, because Alexa just restarted. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to go to developer.amazon.com, and we're going to get this. Now, what we're going to do is that we're going to create an Alexa skill. So we're going to click that. Then we're going to have a list of all the skills we have done, and we're going to click Add a new skill. We're going to get to this. Here we were able to choose the different types of skills. So from the top we have a custom interaction model. That's the one we're going to use. That's the one we are actually building ourselves. We have smart home skill. So that's turning on and off lights. We have flash briefing skills. So it's basically you will be able to say, Alexa, what's going on today, and she will be able to answer. And we have a video skill. We're not going to do that. We're not going to work with videos. We name our skill Stockholm Travel, and we also set the invocation name to Stockholm Travel. The invocation name is going to be the name that, if I say Alexa, ask Stockholm Travel, that's the invocation name, to do something. So let's choose that. Now, we also have, is this an audio player? Is it a video player? No, it's not. So just select no, and we're not going to use random template. Now we can launch a skill builder. So we're going to get into to the skill builder. We're going to get a couple of intents. We're going to get 3 of them. We're going to get the cancel intent, we're going to get help intent, and we're going to get the stop intent. Now I can handle these, I can do something with these intents, or I can just skip them all together. I will get, as you will see in the code later on, I will have the opportunity to actually do something with this. But if I say Alexa stop, she's going to stop and not continue. So everything's going to work even though I don't implement this. So let's create a new one. We also have a couple of built-in domains. So I can use these to, if I want my skill to handle calendars or books or something like that, I can add built-in domain entities. But we're not going to do that either. So let's create a new intent. We're going to call it next transport. So create that. Now we can start add utterances. Now an utterance is the sentence that I want to say to invoke this intent. So in my case, I want to, when does the next bus leave? When does the next subway leave? When does the next train leave? Yeah, you get the thing. Just but I don't want to add all of these. I want to add when does the next transport type leave. So I can take all these and group them into an entity called transport type. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to, we're going to add a new slot type. We're going to name it transport type. We're going to create one, and then we're going to add all of these options that we wanted to have. We can also add synonyms to these. So I can say, well, ship could be named ferry, tram could be named nothing, actually. Train can be named commuter train or commuter. Metro could be named subway or underground. And then we just save them all. Then we go back to our intent. So then we can add a intent slot. So I'm going to say this is going to be named transportation. I'm going to click add. And then I'm going to select from the drop down. I'm going to select the. That was a bit too Thanks. I'm going to select the transport type. And when I write, I'm going to write when does the next, and then a curly bracket. And it's going to show a drop down, and I can select transportation from that. And it's going to look something like when does the next, and bracket, transportation, and bracket. So let's create a new intent. Now we want to create the line intent. Create intent. We're going to create a new intent slot. It's going to be named line. We're going to select one of the pre-built ones. So I'm going to type num, and I'm going to take Amazon number. And then I'm going to add a transport type to that intent as well. But I want to be able to say when does the next 818 bus leave, for example. So now we have a couple of occurrences. We have when does the next transport type leave, and when does the next line number transport leave. So let's take a look at the configuration. I want to host this on Azure. You can host this on Amazon, you can host it on Google, doesn't matter. So I'm going to select HTTPS. I'm going to add the transport, or the URL, in my case, travelbot API, Azure website.net. So we're going to build that in just a moment. I don't care where you live, so please post this, make this available everywhere. I don't want to say specifically that this is Europe one or this is the US one. This is going to be available everywhere. I'm not going to link any accounts, and actually for this demo, I'm not going to use the current address. Now Alexa, for some time, Alexa didn't support Sweden. It's actually coming to Sweden, so now we can actually set our home address to a Swedish address. That was not available before. So let's check out SSL certificates. Well, this is just a development service, so I'm going to say, yeah, just whatever that works. I'm not gonna do a real certificate for this. Then I'm going to say, yeah, I want to enable this for testing. This means that whatever account I'm logged in here, if I have the same account on my Alexa, it's just going to work. I'm going to have this available. Now we come to publishing information. I'm going to go through this a little bit faster. But we have travel, I'm going to set the category, I'm going to set the subcategory. I will be able to set some information about this skill as well. And privacy and compliance, next, finish. So then we're going to start with our project. So I'll just pre-built this. We're just going to look at the code. So we're going to have a web API. We're going to add this package, Alexa skill.net. So let's take a look at some code. So in our project, can you read it in the back? Yeah, awesome. So in our project, we're going to have a controller. We're going to name the controller Alexa. Alexa going to take a post and create something called an Alexa speechlet. Now, an Alexa speechlet is going to derive from speechlet, and we're going to get the on intent here, or override. So here we're able to say, well, our request's intent name, so it's going to be the line and the next transportation intents. Both of these I will be able to handle the same exact way. The only difference between this is one case I'm going to get the line number, and in the other case I won't. So I will be able to say, So if I get the transport type, I'm always going to get the transport type. It's part of the intent, part of both intents. I'm going to get the transport type. If it contains a line number, I'm going to get that. Then I'm going to call a Stockholm travel helper. So it's going to send get the departures. I'm actually cheating a bit because I actually hard coded the value for one of the stops. I'm going to say, well, what line number and what transport type. And then in the response, I'm just going to create a speechless response and say, end the session. I'm not going to say any questions after that, just end the session. And I'm going to say the output speech is going to be the response from the my method and dot speech. So let's take a look at that as well. Where did I put it there? So the Stockholm travel get departures is going to call my API, it's going to get all those, and it's going to run the get departure response. So it's going to create an adaptive card, we will come back to that. It's going to create a speech response. So this is going to be this paragraph with a line, shorts, whatever it stores, leaves in how many minutes. And the same is for the text response. I'm going to be able to use the text response as well. Right. That's basically it. Let's see if this is going to be an epic demo fail or not. Alexa, ask Stockholm Travel when the next bus arrives.
807 towards Galmar's plan leaves in 0 minutes.
Alexa, stop. So what I could have done here, I could have taken when it's going to say Gullmar's plan, I could have put my own wave file and say Gullmar's plan with a better Swedish accent. So let's just continue. Let's go to Google Home as well. I want a winning streak. So we're going to go to dialog flow. Now I'm going to speed up a little bit because we know a lot of things already. But dialog flow, the really cool thing is that this is a company that Google actually bought. And the beautiful thing is that you can add a bot to the web. You can add it to actions on Google. You can use it on Facebook, Slack, Viber, Twitter, Twilio, Skype, Truepo, Telegram, Cisco Spark, and Line, and Direct Line, and Kik. And I'm assuming that more are coming all the time. So I can build one endpoint and just publish it on all these integrations. So this is dialog flow. So we're going to create an agent. We're going to name it Stockholm Travel. We're going to say, well, it's in English, and we're going to set the break types on. For this demo, I'm not going to use the version 2. It's still made up. So let's create one. What we're going to get 2 intents by default. So it's going to have a default fallback intent and the default welcome intent. So a welcome intent is the first time when I invoke the bot or skill, or actually in this case action. Default fallback is, I don't know what you're talking about. This is going to invoke that one. So if I say, hey Google, talk to Stockholm Travel, I hope the mic is off.
Sorry, I'm not sure how to help.
Turn that on.
The light's off.
Then it's going to connect me to Stockholm Travel, and then I can ask the question. So the welcoming intent looks something like this. So it's going to say welcome, it's going to have a couple of text responses down here. It's hi, hello, good day, greetings. We're going to override that in just a bit, but this is the default behavior. So let's start with the entity type. So let's create an entity type. So let's create one, and you already know this, right? You're going to create ship, craft, train, and all of the different versions of those. Let's save that. Now we can create an intent. We're going to create a line intent. We're going to type, when does the next 818 bus leave? I'm going to click bus. I'm going to click 818. That's the wrong one. And I'm going to type number. So this is going to know that, well, 818 is a number. Seems reasonable. Then I'm going to click bus, and I'm going to select my transport type. This is just the same as we did with Alexa. So let's create a new intent. Same thing there. Next transport, I'm going to say when is the next bus leave. I'm going to click the bus that's actually not visible. And I'm going to see transport. So now we created both of those intents. And then I'm going to go to interactions. So I want to create a Google Assistant interaction. And then I'm going to say, yeah, the first intent is going to be the welcoming intent. Basically, just leave everything else. Now we come to fulfillment. This is the interesting part. So fulfillment is basically, yeah, I want you to use a web service in the backend. So I will say, yes, please do, and then add the URL to my web service, web API. In all of those intents, the two intents I've created, I'm going to get a fulfillment checkbox. So I'm going to say, yes, use web. And connect the, for actions, I'm going to say, end the conversation, just as I did with Alexa. We're also going to create a new intent. Now I'm just going to go through really fast, but this is a result.location. So what I'm going to do with Google Assistant is that I'm going to ask for, where do you live? Where's your address on Google? Is it okay that I get that? So I'm going to send a request for that, and when that request is coming back, it's going to come back to the result.location. And then we can work from there. It will be apparent when we look at the code later. Then I'm going to go to settings. I'm going to click the actions on Google. So here I'm going to specify whether it's stop and travel. I'm going to add some pictures. I'm going to say what kind of voice it is, contact details, privacy information, and just say. So let's go to code. You're here for the code, right? So we're going to install the package API AI.SDK. So the reason why this is called API AI is that that's an old name for Dialogflow, but the package is still named that way. So let's take a look at the code. So for Dialogflow, we have the Dialogflow controller. We will get the intent name. Remember this is just the same way. Then I'm going to say, well, for our welcoming intent, I'm going to send back the get user location permission instead. So get the user's location. When that request comes back, it's going to come back to the result location. This is just how Dialogflow works. And there we get some coordinates. So I'm going to say thank you. And then I will be able to ask again, when does the next bus come? And then we will get into these methods. Just as Alexa, I'm going to have one that's going to handle both. If I get the line number, if I get the transport type, ask the same method, return the same SSML. So nothing else than what we did with Alexa. And this is how the get user location information works. So let's see if what I'm telling you is true.
By the way, the mic's back on.
Hey Google, talk to Stockholm Travel.
All right, getting the test version of Stockholm Travel.
To find the closest stop to your location, I'll just need to get your street address from Google. Is that okay?
Sure.
Thank you.
When does the next bus arrive?
$807 towards Gulmersplan leaves in 1 minute. 840 towards Handaterminalet leaves in 7 minutes.
Hey Google, stop.
840 to...
You did it again. So let's talk about Cortana. We go to botframework.com. Yes, it's called Bot Framework. I can't believe they didn't name it Botnet Framework. Come on. But again, I'm fine with that. So we're going to go to Bot Framework. We're going to create a new bot. We're going to click Create again, and we're going to choose between two options. Now, we already have the backend, right? So we don't need to have anything spin up on Azure and stuff like that. So let's select the register an existing bot. Add some metadata. Stockholm travel. Already talked about this. Now, this is different. We need to create Microsoft App ID and passwords. We're going to click that. We're going to it will take us to a completely other site. I will be able to say, well, the app name is going to be pre-filled, and everything is going to look like that. I'm just going to generate app password and continue. Save this password. We'll use it in a little bit. You're not going to say that one. You do. Okay. And then we finish and go back to Bot Framework. Then we are back here. Everything is going to be pretty filled out, just as we would expect. We have some analytics. We're not going to do that for this demo. We also will be able to fill out who's the admin. And this is going to work just as Alexa. That admin will be able to access the Cortana bot. So
Sorry, I don't know that.
And just create. Now, Bot Framework works just the same way as standalone flow. We will be able to have a lot of channels. So for Bot Framework, we will get all of these. Basically, the difference is Skype, Bing, and Cortana. I'll pick and Teams. You might have noticed that Skype was also in the list of Dialogflow, but the funny thing is that they are actually using this. So it's going to integrate to Bot Framework. So let's select Cortana. Fill out some more information about it. We're going to name it. So this actually works a little bit like with Dialogflow or the Google system. You actually do the bot and then you register for Google for a Google action. In this case, we do it for Cortana. We're going to say, but yeah, I want this skill to have access to your current location. And then we're going to name it something good. Current location sounds good. So now, the next step is that we need to have all these intent, right? So Bot Framework doesn't support that. We have to go to lewis.ai. It's going to look something like this. We're going to create a new app. We're going to create, well, let's name it Stock and Travel. That seems good. And then we create one. We're going to come back to the key in just a bit. So here we'll be able to create a new entity. We're going to create a custom entity. We're going to name it transport type. We're going to make it a list. We're going to add all of these things. We've already done this for all the other bots. I'm not going to talk more about that. We're going to add a pre-built entity. We're going to call it number. And we're going to say. So now we have all the entities. So now we can create an intent. So let's create a new next transport intent. So why doesn't do this? So if I write, when does the next bus leave? Lewis AI is going to figure out that bus is probably an entity. So I'm going to replace that with transport type. Easy. Same thing with line. It's going to figure out that, well, 818 is a number. And transport type. I can also test my application. So I can test, well, does this work or not? So I can, the first thing I need to do is actually train the application. Both of the others is going to train automatically. But in this case, I need to actually explicitly say, yeah, train it. Train it. And then I will be able to test it out and see that, yeah, it's hitting the correct intents. Then I'm ready for publish stuff. Actually, it's not really, not yet. Because you see, so this is my key to publish. So I add a new key. Add new key. And now I know how to get a new key. So this is, I really like Cortana, but this is too many steps, I think. So we actually need to go to Azure. We're going to create something new, and we will select the cognitive services. And click create. And wait. Well, we have to have some real-time things, right? I'm going to name it Stock and Travel Lewis. I'm going to say that it's language understanding intelligence service. That's what Lewis is all about. And I'm going to say, well, I'm going to go for a free account. I'm going to get 10,000 calls per month for free. That's going to work for most people, I think. And I confirm. I'm actually going to put it in a resource group I already created, and I'm just going to say. Now we can go to show access keys. So I will be able to get my key there. So we can save that. Save it. Now we can go back to the publish section. I'm just going to select my key, and I'm going to publish it. So for the code for this, I'm going to add a Microsoft Bot Builder. I think there's actually a later version on that one. And I'm going to add adaptive cards. So adaptive cards is a way to describe the response. And Microsoft is going to help us with that. It's going to look great on Skype, it's going to look great on Cortana, and so on. Also need a couple of things. We need to add this to the web config. So it's bot ID, a Microsoft app ID, and so on. The bot ID is basically the name of the bot, so Stock and Travel. The Microsoft app ID, that was one I told you that you should write down. Same with the password. And we're going to get the Lewis subscription key, you get that from Azure, and the model ID, and that's the name of the Lewis model. Let's take a look at the code. Actually, I'm going to take a look at that first. So I'm going to have an API controller. I'm going to have a post. I will check that if it's a message, I will let it get my model ID, my subscription ID, and I'm going to send all of that to root Lewis adaptive card dialog to dialog. And this, we'll take a look at that in just a minute. If it's not a message, I'm going to handle system message, and I can actually check, well, is it delete use data? Is it conversation update? Is it typing? So I can do something with that. So if something is typing, it's going to take a long time. Well, I can basically reply, oh, what are you typing? That's a long message, and get some more interesting conversations. So in our So in our root Lewis adaptive card, so it's going to drive from the Lewis dialog. Lewis dialog is part of the NuGet package. So this is a nice thing. So I will be able to create different methods, and I will decorate it with the Lewis intent attribute. So in this case, this is going to be none and empty string. So this is, I don't understand what you said. I have no idea what you're talking about. Then I will have line and one for next transport. So this is not going to be switch case code. This is going to be different methods. I really like this actually. Both of those two is actually going to do the exact same thing. Of course, I could have done, I could have added those decorations to the same method, but I wanted to show that you can actually separate them. I'm going to say, well, get message activity. Same thing here, right? I'm going to get the transport type. I'm going to get the built-in number. I'm going to ask it for the get departure response, just as before. Still hard-coded value. I'm going to say create a message. So then the message that I'm going to reply with is the text from our response. I'm going to say speak or speech from the speech property, and I'm going to create an attachment. And there I'm going to attach the adaptive card. So with the same service, this is not specific for Cortana, this is specific for Bot Framework. So this is going to work just as great on Skype, it's going to work on email, it's going to work on Kik and all of those others as well. So let's now, when we tried this yesterday, I realized that I'm running a beta on my computer. It's basically broken. This is Jessica's computer. Jessica does not have access to my Cortana bot. So I'm actually going to cheat a little bit, and I'm just going to show you how it's going to look. So the first time I invoke the Stockholm Travel. So if I say, hey Cortana, talk to Stockholm Travel, it's going to invoke this. Going to say, yeah, but this skill wants your location, and I will also send you a request to this skill. Is that okay? Yeah, that sounds reasonable. And then I will be able to say, ask Stockholm Travel when the next bus arrives, and I will get that response, and we also reply with voice. So I realize that this is not going to be as powerful of a demo, but we will still get it. So if you want to do this yourself, these are the resources. I'll leave them up for just a second. So take the chance to program these personal assistants right now. Because when the robot uprising comes, we all know what will come next. Thank you.